welcome back to Write from the Gut, the SF Creative Writing Institute reading series. We're in our seventh year. Thank you to all of our readers, and we're really excited to have you for our end of the year reading. And our next reader is Aquila Lewis Ross. Aquila took the lyric poetry with me this year, and I'm really excited to hear what she has to read. Aquila, you're up.
Well, I tried. Do you guys hear me? Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I'm having issues with my computer. I apologize. So you guys are gonna see my face just for now. Then I'm gonna have to get off and read my stuff. I tried to take your class, girl. It was really great. She's an awesome teacher, professor. I wish I had you when I was a student at UC Berkeley. For those who know me, my family's been having lots of issues trying to get our housing together. And right now we are in Las Vegas, Nevada. On Thursday, we just received our housing voucher. So we can move, we have to use this voucher until April 2020, but my family needs to move by December 31st, January 1st, 2022, just because we don't have money for rent at this place we are now. So I'm constantly trying to figure out how to make it work in this life.
Congratulations on getting the housing voucher. It's huge.
Thank you. And then I'm also writing an article on Sarah and the amazing submissions that she's doing. And that should be coming out pretty soon. I've been a journalist with Oakland Voices, even though I don't live in Oakland. I haven't lived there since 2016, but they still want me to be there. So thank you guys very much. And I will share the poem that I wrote, the only thing I was able to do while I took the class with Alexandra, sorry. Here you go. Stolen lives rise again. This is the home of the brave. I feel rage building again when I saw Blackness whipped and beaten again, not in the distant past, but yesterday. I saw him riding on his obedient steed. Border Patrol cracked whips on broken Black skin, broken lives shoveled along. Keep moving, slave. There's no room in the inn. A country full of immigrants. Decide which kind of immigrants gets to live free. But the stench reaches heaven, and its response scrambles at warp speed, sending the earth mixed messages. Global warming rapidly vomits. The corners are filled to the brim with garbage, circled around the unhoused. Blood, sweat, feces, anguish, and despair on repeat. Human lives trafficked, rationed until the last breath. 40 acres and a mule tested. Second, reparations was never going to be granted. To Blackness still enslaved. Messages heard loud and clear, a broken record never fixed. It's irony, and landscapes are plenty. The hills and valleys have eyes, the rocks hear your secrets too. What is humanity? It's meaningless if the homeless have no home. Theater of the absurd. This isn't some movie reenactment for your pleasure. Remorseful for a minute, shouting Black Lives Matter in the summer, but this is what matters. They still matter all year long. Stolen lives, forced in silence. God sees what you've done to the least of these, but someday, as promised, the last will become the first. Thank you.
Aquila, I love that. And I love the last that will become the first. It ended so biblical with that kind of talk, like this sort of, and that's what we were talking about in lyric poetry, this sort of how poetry gets sweeping and has these lyric sway and swells to it and big emotion. And and the if you want to know what she's writing about, it's the photo of the migrant at the border being whipped by the police on horseback that surfaced and was sort of a scandal in one of the many scandals of 2021. And it was sort of her encounter about looking at that photo and what it meant to her.
And I really love lyric poetry. I think that's my niche. I really do.
Mine too. I love it too. I didn't realize that's what I wrote, and then I was like, oh, that's what I write. Okay, this is the class. It's going to be around this kind of poem, these kind of poems. Yeah, it very beautiful.
Thank you very much. You just, I'm emotional. I'm really having a hard time trying to process just my life in general. And poetry, I've been kind of staying away from open mics and stuff because I heard myself complain, and I just, poetry kind of wasn't doing what I needed at the time, and still kind of isn't. So, but I'm still gonna continue doing it. But yeah, keep me in your thoughts and your prayers. I am a Christian too. I know I really like that poem that you did. I think your name was Riley. And yeah, thank you.
It's beautiful. And yeah, keep writing. You're a beautiful writer, and you found the right community. We support you. So, and keep going. And Aquila's so sweet. I taught in person at Counterpulse Theater, and she happened to be in town and drove by and slipped a copy of her book in my hand. It was so sweet outside. I felt very important, and it was very sweet. The book is called Stop Hurting and Dance, and it's on Pacino Press. So if you want to drop it in the chat, feel free, Aquila. Our next writer is a tremendous talent, nominated for Poet Laureate of Oakland, and is written published 5 books of poetry, or possibly more, and is working on a memoir. Her name is Cassandra Dalet. Cassandra.
I'm here. Sorry, it took me a minute to unmute. Okay, I'm going to read Dear Echo. There are no heroes here. None of us are heroes. None of us flawed, broken beings. Some of us are just put together with a better grade of super glue. Some carry our chipped pieces on our sleeves. Some present museum fine, bone china, gilded frame, the smooth marble hands of David. And still we cut, leave gnarly gashes and egos bruised. It's what we do with the after. Elaine Brown was beaten and raped by her comrade. She went on to be the first woman to head the Black Panthers. Ask Araminta what it is to run for your life, to go back south facing dismemberment and shackle. Ask us about children we raised with nothing, pushing strollers of laundry and wick milk, broke down on the side of the interstate, accepting rides from strange men while clutching our children in our sweaty arms. Do you know what it is to beg shelter? Play dead like possum, write whole ass books after your kids have gone to sleep, get no sleep running from library to library on public transit, exposed on sidewalk, thick, pig meat, big leg gal, as if you were born to rub their gristle. The stories your elders tell would singe your ears. We had no Facebook to shout misogyny out. It was never easy to protect what lies between our thighs, not to mention the lies that come alive in our heads, one negative comment in your gut forever, while each compliment dies with the wind. Humans are shitty people, sloppy and horny. We do weird things for touch, weird things with touch. We are touched, dropped on our heads, born sinners, whatever that means. It's up to you to break the spell, eat the whole damn apple, tell the snake to go to hell. When did becoming a victim become a fashion trend? Listen to the cage bird sing, raise up and fly your coop, baby. Listen to your first mind, gut is God. It's not who you are, it's just what was done to you. Just another thing to wash off in the shower, down the drain with bloody mucus, with semen, with bad intent, not yours to carry. Don't let your voice fade into a whisper reflecting the light of your sun. Also, don't get swept up in the need to out everything. Wolf criers are celebrated. The internet commentators cheer downfall. How did he hurt you, little bird? Let you down, leave you waiting, shrinking as the moments tick by to the unwanted other woman you grew out of long ago. Did he grope you, bully you into giving it up? Whichever orifice or tender piece of you you held sacred, you tried to protect, you gave in. What is the new definition of abuse? All these new meanings for words, some of us unsure what new rules we live by. We are angry, we are forgiving, we are confused. This is an unfinished letter. I can't see you through the vague. I'm not blaming, only asking, what is it you want here in the hot stage light? I want to hold you, but I'm trying to understand what outcome should come. Should we all hide or weaponize our shares till it's our turn to fall? Yes, even the men in the movement, not all men, but always men, even those with a gift of gab, a way with words, would have their way with you. Narcissists everywhere, lacking empathy and tormented. Social media, the most distorted reflection of all.
This is beautiful. Your poems are starting to get memoir-y because you're working on a memoir, and I can see the memoir-y parts of your poems. Yeah, people love it. I thought that the line I really liked was this one about, oh, did I write it down? Humans are shitty people, sloppy and horny. We do weird things for touch. We are touched, and then all that about eating the apple, and it's very also biblical. It's a very biblical night. Interesting. God is God. Tell the snake to go to hell. Yeah, beautiful. And Cassandra is working on an awesome memoir that is amazing, and her life is very, very interesting. So I'm just putting that out there. So get ready for it. Okay. Oh, by the way, if you signed up to read and we don't have you on our list, I'm gonna drop the list. It's a Google Doc in the chat. And if for some reason we missed you, it was 3 people making this list. Sometimes we can make a mistake or we didn't look at our other list in time. So if you fall into that category, just message me and we'll slot you in because we want everybody to read who wants to. Our next reader is G. Macias Guzman. Are you here, G?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
How you doing?
Good. How are you? Nice to see you.
Nice seeing you too. I worked my ass off to about like 10 minutes before I had to show up, and all is good and peaceful in Davenport, Iowa. And thinking about starting my own thing here after combing around some of the coffee houses. But other than that, I'm just loving life, taking care of the parents.
Where are you right now? Where in the world are you?
I'm in back in my hometown of Davenport, Iowa.
In Iowa? Is it cold there?
Hell to the yeah.
Believe it.
Yeah, well, can't really call it my hometown. They've mowed down and changed everything. It's the 20 years I've been gone, so it's like a new place. It's
That's
like
crazy.
Oakland Light or something, and I don't know.
Oh,
But
wild.
I got a new piece that's. I'm sorry, it's not going to be biblical, but it is going back into the dating pool. It's called Back into the Sea. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm sure we will.
I asked Google how long to heal from a broken heart, and Google said 3.5 months for a relationship, a short 1.5 years after divorce. Better shorter for the one who walked away. That seems like a fair enough timeline to spend some time on my back and sink the clouds away. Let myself taste my smile again. And if I try real hard, harder than silencing all my screaming voices into usable poems, hard like feeling visually unappealing within my courage to say hello to this lovely woman that with the most appealing smile sitting under the sun, as hard as getting over that one broken heart that sets up every broken heart that lines up in wide rose sense. I find that you get brave, like getting tired of waking up in the friend zone, brave. Like brave, you get brave, like becoming a different beast for better goal set, brave. You get brave, like looking for all the broken parts you got scattered around, brave. You get brave, like put all them broken pieces back together, yourself, brave. You get brave like you finally love yourself to where you understand you don't know how to love anyone really at all, brave. Then, with all that bravery you in your step, you find when you try real hard, harder than breathing back in all that air that was taken from your beating broken heart, hard like saying goodbye to that lovely woman with the most appealing smile sitting under the sun, hard as putting yourself out there after you fix that beating broken heart that one gave you, allowing all the others to go home to their proper owners so you could put your house back into perspective. You find courage, like put that cookie bag down and get out of bed courage. You find courage, like turn off Facebook and YouTube and your favorite porn sites. Courage, turn them off, courage. You find courage like hello, put a name to that person that broke your tender poet's heart in a poem you heard about hard-earned self-discovery. Write it in an afternoon. Read that bad motherfucker for you right now, courage. I say, Google, now that I spent some time on my back, thinking every cloud back into the sea, I find that the willow tree still flows in the wind, still beautiful. I find that 36-ounce coffee still tastes sweet with 3 tablespoons of cream and 9 teaspoons of sugar. I find that I still write parable prose poems higher than a man with a jetpack cap on. I find that I still know that we're all just light and vibration resonating at frequencies that lies out there within the mathematics of 3, 6, and 9. But that doesn't make watching my cat sleep any less magical. I know that when we look into a mirror, we're not looking at ourselves. We're looking into a shadow of what we think we are at any given moment. In times when we look at ourselves in mirrors just to believe we're right. Shit. Even wasps have feelings. They just don't care, like the world, about my capacity to still be able to fall in love and face all the villains who take paper from my pocket, time from my soul, bravely. Find a beautiful girl that Google don't know about, sit under the sun just outside the friend zone, and nap. Thank you. Been a while since I've spoke out loud or in public. Usually I just spend the days by myself swinging a hammer or taking care of the parents, but it's always good to see friendly faces and hear beautiful work. Been a while.
It's been a while. It's really good to see you. I remember when you used to read in person at our events, and you're amazing in person. And having you in the frame of, I know you move around a lot when you read, when you're standing up, you perform, and having you in the frame of a Zoom is different, and your work is quieter.
I actually think about the small little doors that I have to walk in now. So I can't wait to get out there out of this little box right here and just break out.
Oh, I know we're all like that. I feel the same way about getting out of the box. I think COVID does that to us. Like, we've been inside. I mean, even though now we're out and we're doing sort of hybrid in person and online, there's a sort of sense of like we're all in this little box. But I like
COVID,
it to
what's
the
that?
work. It's nice to see you, and I didn't even know you were in Iowa. I thought you were. It's like you, for all of you that are out of state, it's like you could be right here. So that's beautiful.
Thank you. You guys are never far from my heart. I mean, I just wasn't planning on being here, but some of the best poets don't make plans, do they?
Yeah, that's true. Well, glad you joined us across time and space. That's what good writing is. What it's supposed to do, right? Is to connect people, and that's what we're doing. Okay, our next reader is Sharon Coleman. Sharon actually took this really interesting class that we offered in the summer with the choreographer Sarah Bush, and it was a dance and movement and poetry workshop where they did avant-garde dance and language poetry, and they fused them into these very interesting videos, like new media poetry. And Sarah Bush is a choreographer and a poet, and she does choreography about the writings of famous dancers. So she looks at, and integrates all these interesting genres. So it was interesting to see what a dancer and she would do with poets in Zoom. And because dancers were all sort of having to refigure their physical space, since they're, they're the quintessential performers, performing artists, it was really interesting. And I don't know, Sharon, what you're going to share, if it's going to be from that class or if it's something else, but I'm really excited that you're here, and thank you for reading.
Well, I have one piece with from Sarah Bush's poetry that I wrote from some of her choreography. I could show, I had another poem I was going to read, but I could show a video that I made with dance and poetry if you want.
Sure, if you want to show it, it's cool, the one you made.
Okay, Becoming Birds. Which bones first take flight? Hermine, a span of feathers catching wind song. What fields come into avian vision? Close your eyes and open to a bird's wide, keen sight. What feet have pressed the tall grass into spirals? My cedar waxwing, not me, gets drunk so elegantly. What humanness scatters in the bird's dance? A paper bird suit floating, featherless. What future holds a hollow-bodied dinosaur's egg? A meadowlark's wing clearing a dusty mere at the bottom of her nest. Whose sunny hill? Whose perching tree? A bee caught in her hair, a bee caught in a crow's beak. How much shoreline stillness waiting for food to swim by? 4 pears to feed 9 gullets. And I will now pull up one of the videos that I made from the
city where a doctor might still do a house call, pass in and out while I burned with fever, passed a hand over swollen glands, and a strange sensation between legs. A doctor whom the man showed into the bedroom, then out. No word or treatment. All winter the man told me stories. The stones of the city told me more. It was a city where a doctor would laugh with a man seated next to me. It's not connected to sex, but nuns never get it. And misprescribe antibiotics that burned through my insides for months. My voice became a drawer of expired medicines, opened and shut. who'd nod at the man's name before mine in his office, then dismiss it as nothing. It was a city where a fourth doctor approached without the man would diagnose it in a minute. How could so many not see? He'd lie about what is sometimes so difficult to recognize.
That was really far out, which I liked, and they were all like that. Everybody's video was really far out, and I liked the way that they sort of interacted with the text and then the rhythm. And Paul really liked it because Paul's teaching this class now called 21st Century Poetry and Social Media. And I thought, Paul, I thought you would really like it because it's sort of what Sarah Bush did is like what you guys are studying, but more with the movement aspect. But this sort of like they have these interesting movements and then sound, and then they edit the text, and then there's the it's like sort of non-narrative, which is interesting too. Very interesting. Good job. And it's hard. I'm sure it took you forever to film that and edit it and think about it.
Well, it didn't take too long, but I had no experience in filming. And I'm now taking classes at Berkeley City College in making films. So I'm really happy about that.
Oh, interesting. Let us know if you make any interesting poetry films and we'll share them. Really good. Okay. Our next reader is Marilyn J. Dykstra. Marilyn, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you. For the month of November, I was challenged to write a haiku a day, and so I'm going to read some haiku. And I have a timer because I'm not sure exactly how many I can read here. These first three are ones that I've written separately, but suggested by some other poet friends to put them together. So there is no silence like our house at midnight with everyone asleep. While my family sleeps, rain falls on the roof and gurgles down the spout. A low train whistle blows through the night. Silence in my house. Now let's see, I'll go back to when I started in the beginning of November. Steam curls upward from my battered blue thermos to greet my morning. I emerge downtown from a hole in the ground to find a flower stand. This one's a little bit longer. It's actually a tanka, so it's 5 lines. Through hills browned from summer sun, recent rains create streams of green that outline valleys against drought. And some more haiku. A bouquet of poppies grows in a sea of green weeds and fallen petals. 5 yellow veins flow from a red leaf on my neighbor's lawn. A gentle breeze brings barking dogs and screaming kids, punctuated by crow caws. We watch 2 deer stand still 20 feet away while they watch us. A pair of perky ears rises above tall grass, waiting for us to pass. On a snowshoe hike, we look back at the mountain. A halo appears. Blue sky, green grass, blue Blue sky, green grass, sun, families, children, dogs, and bikes out for a hike. A backyard tree escapes under the fence to offer berries to walkers. A close poppy growing along the stream bank sags from drops of dew. And I think my timer's ringing. So I will stop there.
Read us one more.
Okay. The last one there. Oh, one more. I'll read this one. Lemons and oranges soak up the juicy warmth of the winter sun.
I like that one. I'm glad you read that one. These
Thank
are
you.
nice. They're very nice. I know you've been through a lot this year, like I have. I think we were playing this word game, and you always beat me, Marilyn.
Oh,
That word, Marilyn is like the queen of this word game, and she sends it to me, and then anyway, and she's really good, and I always lose. I had to stop playing it because it was addicting, and I would lose every time. I get mad. So anyway,
I
but
just know letters that go together, and I just,
brilliant. You're really good at it. Thank you for reading.
you're welcome. Thank you for letting me.
Okay, here's our next readers. If you're here, if you're not, are they all, is everybody here that's on this list? Let's go with Paul Corman-Roberts. Without further ado, he teaches the 21st Century Poetry and Social Media workshop, and also the chapbook workshop. And we're glad to have you, and thank you for coming and reading your work and bringing some of your students.
Yeah, thanks for doing the showcase tonight. It's been a while. It's fun. I'm glad to be back.
It has been a while, and Paul has a book out that's a really nice book, and it's nominated for a Firecracker Award. Is that right? And
yeah, the CLMP Firecracker Award.
mhm. And it's called Bone Moon Palace, and it's got some really nice poetry, sort of sad, but good poetry for our times. And yeah, so okay, without further ado, Paul.
It's well, yeah. I think everybody knows my poetry is pretty sad. I'm gonna read brand new stuff tonight. Stuff that I've written really recently. So I'll just do two quick pieces. I think I can get them both in under. I know I'll just do one. I can't keep it under 3 minutes. So, but I'm gonna do this one that I wrote pretty recently. I've never read this before. Before the Spaniards arrived on the San Francisco Peninsula, there was a little village in the what we now call the Presidio, called Petlinuch. And so this poem is called Blues for Petlinuch. There's a city around here somewhere. You can hear its chirping, squealing, crying, growling, and excuse me, licking through an armory of stubborn marsh bramble. Not that the green sweat bee has any shits to give over deferred and decelerating combustion agendas. A shaded grotto sits just off the sidewalk perimeter, short descent down a mild slope. Even after an array of early morning squalls drenching the entire marsh, the dark, saturated redwood benches feel, look, even sound welcoming in the gentle and perpetual dripping off thousands of branches and leaves that welcome the gathered drizzle like tears of a lover that has been gone too long. These are the blues for Petlinuch. It all feels so very welcoming. Do not be fooled. Nobody knows like Golden Gate National Recreation knows where it is Homo sapiens are not supposed to go. Jeans, saturated sleeping sack, toothbrush, and a towel, haphazard. They left in a hurry. Where did they go? Watersheds were not made for baptisms and target practice. Memory runs for as long as Mission Creek runs into this dark stained sand. The soft lawn fingers on drier, warmer days will invite blankets. Lawn chairs like gentle probing fingers into finely manicured hairs, where a wilder, denser tangle, deadlier, resides mere steps away. Thank you. Thank you, creative writing community. Very blessed to be a part of y'all. Very blessed to be working with y'all and collaborating with this group. Thank you.
Thank you too. And do you want to read one more? Hollie's clamoring in the chat. And so other people are saying you have to read one more. Always great to hear you. Congratulations. Yeah, you're getting encored here. Do you have
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
encore.
All right. All right. I'll do one more. But we lost a few people, so I got to fill a little time, right?
No, I mean we don't have to go, you know.
No, I want to read this one too. I haven't read. I wrote that. I wrote this. I wrote this a couple days ago. I osmose through ether. Since I was reading comic books, my dog, a strange place to come from in my consciousness. Suggestive mind as a power relationship. I don't live so much. The concept of an altered state on my ass, on my feet, or even eyes wide to a formulaic storyline. What am I open to? What do I open for? I find it easier and easier to fall in love with images on a computer screen. Should I be surprised Meta now tries to sell me intimate AI partners? We spend so much time complaining about what hard work dating is. Why not try to find love in a complex piece of code instead? I recall the story of a woman who meets their most desired personal intimacy demographic, not through an online dating service, but in public at a political meeting of some kind. And they have an enjoyable coffee, which leads to further dates and eventual intimacy. And throughout the whole process, the woman cannot stop wondering if her partner is a human or three-dimensional bot with sophisticated AI. In the end, they break up, and it is difficult to remove this partner from her life because they keep bringing up reasons that she might be unsure of their relationship status, even though the provisionally ex-partner doesn't seem anxious to spend any real time with her until she undertakes the reprogramming of all her social media profiles, whereupon she never hears from the other person again. And it is at that point she realizes she no longer has any use for the pretense of humanity. And this is not a news story. Blade Runner, Metropolis, and yes, the modern Prometheus. What makes the Homo sapien heart stray outside not just itself, but its own species, in search of species that mirror, go beyond what we believe any others can mirror? And yes, I find this odd and lacking, but that may be another story. My dog, I osmose through the ether. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for reading the extra poem. It's very far out. Have you seen, I don't know if you've seen the movie Her, where the guy falls in love with an OS, but it reminds me.
There's a few flicks out there I haven't seen. I have not seen that one, but that is that's one I know I need to look at.
It makes you question a lot of things about humanity after watching it. It made me question a lot of things. It's great. And tell me about the Presidio one. What is that about? Is it a reference to what were you referencing?
Yeah, it's that's my poem I wrote after exploring around the Thompson Reach watershed in the Presidio area, which leads and it flows down to the marina. And you can see there's a point that you can see, it sits up higher on the hill, and you can follow the watershed further on up into the Presidio, up into there's that little site, and there's a whole, there's been a whole effort to preserve that area and rebuild the watershed as it goes to, that spot along the marina now has been, they're still finishing, as public transportation, as public works tend to go in our Bay Area cities, these things get long and drawn out when there's, that budget money to be squeezed out.
Exactly.
But the marina is looking really good these days. And there's a lot of restored wildlife down there. It is impressive.
It's interesting. I asked because I was curious about the Presidio, because anyway, I won't go into personal details, but I get mad at them sometimes as a San Franciscan. But I think it sounded beautiful. It's beautiful there. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break just in case you have to pee or get up and get a tea or a glass of wine, whatever you need. And thank you very much, Paul. And thank you to all of our readers in the first half. It's going to be a short one. So please come back in 5 minutes. Hollie is in the background. Come back at 7:10 or 9:10 if you're in the central time zone. And Hollie has been in the background, sort of keep spotlighting and keeping us on task, which I really like. It makes it a lot easier to host. So thank you for doing that, Hollie. And thank you for spotlighting me. And yeah, we'll just take a break. I'm going to pause the recording. So if people want to visit, they can. And that way, and then I'll start it when we come back.
Of unrecorded humanity. And God saw the light, that it was a form of silencing, and God divided the light from the predators to rampage. And God called the light obsessions about false rape accusations. And the darkness he called those stories that might be killed into silence. And the evening and the morning were the first policing of gender. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the jurisdiction over our body. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were silencing specific to women. And it was the Clarence Thomas Anita Hill hearings in 1991. And God called the firmament male silence as a trade-off for power and membership. And the evening and the morning were the second, fuck this shit. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together until one silence of intimidation. And let the dry land be the endless war against reproductive rights. And it was the right of men and the state over women's bodies. And God called the dry land poverty silences, and the gathering together of waters called the sea of silence equals death. And God saw that it was the hotel cleaning woman. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is itself colonialism. And he would never ask a man that. And it was presumed that women should have children. And the earth brought forth grass, and earth yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was his gender violence. And God saw that it was attempts to continue controlling women who have announced they are leaving, tried to leave, or left. And the evening and the morning were the third memory into shards that will not be recognized as a credible story. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the spouses, the leading cause of death for pregnant women in the United States. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days, and the secret sanctuaries that are women's shelters, places women disappear as a result of violence. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to shine a light upon the white women in the suffrage movement who denigrated and excluded Black women. And it was so these women are refugees in their own country. And God made two lights, the greater light to rule the history of women's rights, and the lesser light to rule shame, the great silencer. He made the Louisiana's head and master rule. And Lord said, and the speaking will get easier and easier, and you will find you have fallen in love with your own vision, which you may never have realized you had. And you will lose some friends and lovers and realize you don't miss them. And new ones will find you and cherish you. And you will still flirt and paint your nails and dress up and party. Because as I think Emma Goldman said, if I can't dance, I don't want to be part of your revolution. And at last you'll know with surpassing certainty that only one thing is more frightening than speaking your truth, and that is not speaking. And Lord, set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon segregation, police brutality, domestic violence, and the colonization of women's bodies, who here today has been unheard.
I'm not hosting, but I just wanted to clap for that. That was amazing.
Gracie, I'm so proud of you. This is your first, I didn't realize this was your first reading ever when we were collaborating on What Should You Do? And I'm really proud of you. Congratulations. I hope you'll read a lot more times.
Thank you.
Jack Varnell, my friend from Punk Hostage Press is here, and he's going to read for us.
Hey guys, hey Holly. Thanks for letting me have the space, guys. I'm going to read another guide piece. Since we're on a theme here, I haven't revisited this one in quite some time, so bear with me. It's called Same Old Testament. Infinite nothingness dropped me into the void, where disorder and anarchy existed before. Genesis, it was my creation, formed from chaos, given structure to fill the empty, and it was good. And it moved me from the sands of time to tilling the soil in the garden. I even gave you my rib. I even gave you my rib just to watch you dance. And from birth to willful, curious sin, while hunger all-consuming had you taste fruit forbidden, everyone pays. Not just fruit, child. Fruit of my labors fall. They fall bow to ground and they rot. And neither I nor fruit are salvageable. There's no fruit to ferment. There's no wine to drink to forget. So what shall I do? Sleep in the belly of a whale? Wait for another one to turn water into wine? Be patient like Job again? Perhaps I should walk on water. Take an ocean voyage atop a mountain. Me and the animals 2 by 2 through the split Red Sea. But what about that dogwood flower and its prophesied blooded 4 corners? The voice whispers louder than when the hope did. And the hope suggested we visit Jezebel instead and condemn and crucify ourselves. Maybe even my own life. It's not mine. I gave it away to you and to the dogwood. It was just a toy, a dreidel spinning. Is redemption coming? Is salvation here now? Must I knock firstborn worthy and pass through the lamb's blood door to find it? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jack. Great to hear you.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Up next, another one of mine. I feel like you guys belong to me. Lucy, you are up, my friend.
Okay, I guess I just want to thank Holly for everything. She's given me deadlines for the last 2 workshops, and it taught me so much and inspired me, and I love her. So anyway, here's what I did for, I think anyway, it's called Boxed. The egg is cooked. No one is watching the water boil away. There's a hummingbird inside my head, speed dating the petunias, while the impatients await their turn too. So much nectar, what to do, arg, The smoke alarm keeps ringing and the pot blackens slowly. The egg is cooked. No one is watching the water boil away. What will I do with my family photos? My mother's mother is only 3. Who will take care of her after me? My father's in another box, still growing up inside letters, inside envelopes he sent to his parents from Massachusetts in 1925, pieces of himself delivered to a box on the Upper West Side. I'm putting him back together in San Francisco almost 100 years later, like a puzzle on a rainy day, but I've got time, or not. It's 2021, way past 3:50 ppm. And I'm old enough to be Bubby's grandmother, and it's breaking my heart. Bubby, Aka, my father, is such a good boy, already a sophomore at 17, making the grade in the Berkshires at Williams College, but not making it into a fraternity, and he doesn't know why. But I do. Did they not even tell him? His roommate knew because he got in and they told him, and I know because Telford, that roommate, my father's oldest friend, told me the whole story over lunch with wasps flying out of the clear blue sky of his erudite eyes. When I was 48 and he 85, and my father long gone, my father already delivered home to Bethesda in a very small box of granules to be thrown under a bush of azaleas with all his secrets intact. Thrown under the dogwood trees near the daffodils where he had already scattered bits of my mother, daffodils grown brown like the nicotine worry on his teenage fingers when he wrote those letters inside those envelopes, inside that box. Yet even now, my mother is still in my care and very much alive at 5 in her white dress and straw hat on a beach in Kamakura with other Americans not far from the great Daibutsu. My mother, a little girl, standing there in sand before the spoils spilled, I mean oil, her grandfather promoted on the bluff in Yokohama at the turn of the last century, and money, his son-in-law, my mother's father, my grandfather, made then lost, selling reinforced concrete to the Japanese in case the earth quaked, which it did in a very big way in 1923, when his daughter, my mother, was 13, and just 2 years before my father at 17 would slip all those worried pieces of himself into envelopes in Massachusetts on his way to a Phi Beta Kappa key, not a fraternity. Are you following me? It's quite a long story of self-discovery, and my father's eyes keep twinkling with wonder, not wasps. They're blue, but not in photos where they're just a shade of gray, looking out from a head of black hair slicked down, with skin too swarthy to get past the front door. Sorry, I lost my... With skin too swarthy to get past the front door on which he's been knocking. The egg is cooked. No one is watching the water boil away, and my whole family is boxed in San Francisco like mummies at the Met. Who will take care of them when I'm gone? There's always my daughter in New Zealand on the North Island south of Auckland, blonde and blue-eyed like her father, not mine, with a brain like mine, also jam-packed with hummingbirds, speed dating a whole flower farm of possibilities. Maybe she'll catch the ball I'm trying to hit out of the park with its many yarns unraveling over oceans rising. She's crafty, might even make a sweater of it, or a life preserver if I can't make the film I'm trying to make. That is, if New Zealand is still above water by the time she catches it. The hummingbird keeps fluttering in my head so fast while I'm working on this mandala right now, this like a Tibetan monk, arg, all those granules on the card table and me trying to make a motion picture still, whole. Give it peace before it's gone and I'm boxed for home delivery too. The egg is cooked. No one is watching the water boil away, but you, who are now in this box too.
Wow, Lucy. I feel like having like seen your journey and knowing your material and this revision, you did a generative revision, didn't you? You did. I see it. It's amazing. Congrats. And I love that I know the background in all the pieces that you're pointing at. And I remember the egg from the first, and now the pieces from the letters. It's great. I'm excited that you're still working on it. Congrats. You guys, I want to plug my class and then I'm going to read you some poems. I'm developing a brand new contemporary poetry class for January. It's going to start on January 20th, 6 weeks. Each week we'll focus on a single poet. We're going to dive deep. All of them will be young contemporary poets that have made a mark, that are not like super in the canon. And then we'll write our own poems based on what we've learned and are excited about from those poets. So the link to sign up is in the chat, and I hope I get to work with you. All right. 3 poems, short. Deciduous. Your rope is an apple in a Magritte sky, potential and her shadow. The way pronouns change their meanings, you keep calling me by different names as we evolve into and away from. Water is the cure for everything now. Heart and distance lapping at the edges of us, growing a secret forest of little teeth. Deciduous, another metaphor for change. Uncoiled from its ball, does the rope lose its power or stretch to its full potential, unfurling its talent for restraint? What can the rope swing teach us about sitting still, about letting go? This thirst, these hungry hands, tied, untied, reaching across canyons, now visible, now vanishing. Blue, a study of clouds, a swarm of disappointment, rushing across your forehead, crashing to earth. Icarus, how readily you accept it. This mouthful of fingers. I hold my breath as we climb out of the water, out of the well. The tools of erasure are never what we hoped for. Sometimes good night feels like forever. Sometimes good night feels like goodbye. Sine qua non. Because every animal longs to be bare, I'm clearing a space for something new. I discard furniture and habits like unzipped skin, then note my surprise when humans still iron, smoke, or eat fast food. It's not meant to be judgmental. I just remake the world in my own image. I am perpetually mistaken about the world. I lie on a borrowed yoga mat, listening to my breath, sine qua non, without which not. My students share with me their fears of tiny holes in pool drains, their talent for untangling necklaces. They love the smell of rain and gasoline. The buoyancy of balloons enthralls or repels them. Now notice the stillness of the body, how the practice of breathing has opened a space inside you. Who eats the burlap skin of kiwis, discards the sandpaper soft of peaches? Do you prefer the pleasures of skin or flesh? We assemble our idiosyncrasies to make of them a kind of joy. In yoga, there are 8 limbs. Pranayama controls the breath. Pratyahara withdraws the senses. As darkness brightens the light, even lentils fetch delight after a fast. How weeks of abstinence electrify your longing, your lips, your breath. How fern fronds shiver when you blow on them. Last one. A Murder of Crow's Feet. I wrote this poem in support of reproductive rights and Texas mutual aid for a fundraiser I did right after Texas lost its fucking mind. I turned down the volume of my internal monologue so I can't hear the stop signs. Green light in the trees moves like water full of wind. The nap refuses to take me, and I toss in uneasy daylight. Sometimes I'm jealous of my old life, my younger body, the enthusiasm of smooth skin, how quickly I healed then. No one got shot, but everybody got hurt. How easily we dismiss our non-material injuries because emotional trauma cannot be quantified. Dreams, triggers, how easily we startle at shadows now. You got your stuff back, so you're okay. Be grateful. This gratitude moves like water, slips between fingers, the glass both full and empty, like Schrodinger's imaginary cat. If art is an exercise in critical feeling, the act of homolinguistic translation, I stretch out into my new life, barefoot, but not pregnant. I give thanks to my scars and put on my boots. The day smells warm like sunlight on skin. It is mine to decide. I am the author and the autobiography of my choices. Thanks, you guys. All right.
That was beautiful. I just want to say that it's just really good, and I've loved all those poems.
Thank you, Alexandra. You're welcome. You're such a good cheerleader for all of us. We
Oh,
love
you guys are and I love that sometimes it's people's first time reading. It's really good. Good. Keep going.
I am delighted to bring up next to the stage my old friend and old peer, Mike Urquidez.
Hi, thanks, Hollie. It's awesome to be reading with you again, to be able to read with you again through technology. And I'm going to read just a few poems from Paul's amazing chapbook class that I took just a couple of weeks ago. So this first one is called The Beatles is the whitest shit I can think to write about tonight. Everyone says George is their favorite, the quiet one, a safe choice. If you say Paul, you're a lame, choose Ringo, you're an idiot, and John, you're an asshole. So everyone picks George. We used to jam, like really jam, in your kitchen, remember, Raul? She Loves You, Day Tripper, the old songs, the ones in black and white. But I can't recall who was on the drums in these memories of your mom yelling in Spanish for us to play quieter, and your homie brother calling us white boys but still dancing around in his slingshot. This long before you leaving California, before complaining of taxes, gas prices, before MAGA, before anti-vax, before pictures of you holding your AR-15. If I could talk to you now, I would tell you that the songs of the late 60s are more fun to play. I would tell you that Abbey Road is their best album but has none of my favorite hits. I would tell you that Paul's solo stuff is good, sometimes better than the others, that he was being held back. And I would tell you that my favorite Beatle is John, the right answer, musically, of course. And not just because he died young and violently. And I would ask you, why all the guns? De que tienes miedo, güey? Raul, you would probably say, John, serio? But sabes que, you can't deny it's truth. This next one is called The Strawberry Octopus. Young, I believe the cellophane-wrapped winter fields of California, shimmering lakes stretched between frontage roads and tan mountains, so one day I dived in. Under the surface, I had imagined a seascape where a strawberry octopus and dedicated campesinos nurtured the roots settling in the coldest layer of dusty water. Instead, I found floating, frayed straw hats, countless pairs of thick woven gloves, 24 or more paisley bandanas like paralyzed eels slowly twisting in the matted light. Pickled soil runs aground, sweat and tears forging vast stretches. Drip irrigation feeds already saturated dirt, and it will still be decades. And I have one more to read. Gonna get to it. Okay. This one is called Image 4736, No Views. Facing us, there is just about nothing. And so the north side. Transmission severed, tilt upward, the most natural movement, to glimpse first the moss, the needles, the dead branches snapped and dropped by a recent fleeing storm. The megatrunks, every other slit with precision, preside as if over stink beetles in situ. Let the sun like a wide paintbrush run forehead to throat, the pupils shrivel along the way. Nobody tilts their head down on purpose without some impending sense of calamity, however small. We must have been taught at some point, however small. Remember every inevitable collision on grooved freeway cement, a headlight, a hood adornment, a sliver of someone's eye in great dry detail in the mirror. The chin tucks itself, a turtle instinct. We must have been taught at some point to walk from the ocean while looking up, try and avoid the turns waiting to scoop us. The incomplete creatures. They kept coming anyway. It is blind relief that this northern trail still leads us somewhere. A miracle we can move along. Thank you. Messed up the last one, but thank you.
Mike, I love your, hearing your new work. It's so great. I must reconnect with you and Anne Marie. And I feel like the last thing I remember of yours was, I want to say Ugly Lemons.
Well,
Was it
that's graduate school. That's a long time
It was
ago.
a long time ago, but it was a good title back then. I still remember it.
Thanks, that's great.
Right on. Well, I hope we'll see more of you. We just have 3 more readers, and I just posted them in the chat so you can see them. And up next is Sarah Beal.
Hello. Oops, my poem vanished. Sorry, I just had it and then it went away. Okay, there we go. So I wrote this recently for my friend Casey, who passed away this summer. Catch and release. Last night I dreamed of dogs barking, walked to the train with their echo chewing my nerves, trudged up from underground, cracked the surface of this damp, toothy Tuesday. Our broken city looks its age. Wires and tracks mark the streets, drag reluctant workers to our perpetual chores. In this industrious avalanche, time and memory fold, stretch with tectonic grace. From the corner, I see a boy outside a cafe, bouncing and rocking on a wire chair. His curly head turns, his eyes brown, flecked with green, like the Pacific woods. His smile tramples my breath. It's so like yours. My heart catches in confusion, longs to unwind the choked fact of your death. My brain chants your name. Behind my eyelids, bright, furious hallucinations roll, then recede, reliable and impossible to hold. I wait for reality to settle back, to sink into the ache of your absence. Was that you? Did you break through a wink of sun on a fog-filled bay, leaving me a stone in the stream of morning commuters, pulled up for just a second, held in a gaze, caught and released, returned to the flood of time? So thanks. That's
beautiful. Thank you, Sarah. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
All right, one more open micer, and then we're going to conclude with our very own Alexandra. A late addition to the list, Heidi Medina Agueta. And if I mispronounce that, please correct me.
No, it's okay. Argueta is fine. I was feeling shy, but then I heard my maestro read, and I heard all of you fine people read, and I had to go ahead and share something in honor of all of you awesome students and my teacher. So I'm going to share a poem called Stone. As soon as I can find it here. Stone, de piedra sangre. I make my own heaven. I drag it out of the streets. In inhospitable terrains, I mix tabique, brick, mortar with my hands kneading. I need to make my own heaven. It is clandestine in broad daylight. It's microwave popcorn from Costco because Costco can cross the border as many times as it wants, and it has never been asked to go back to where it came from. Not in this kitchen, scrubbed so clean with bleach that the roaches have to ask permission to scatter out onto the floor. Zulema and I don't flinch. She has figured me out. We know we have lived some shit, and now it takes more than a fucking cockroach to keep us from moving forward. Fuck the roaches, the military, the long nights, and even longer days. There is popcorn to be made in this kitchen, a courtyard of children waiting for it. And baby girl walks in to check on our progress. She is waiting impatiently for popcorn, and the smell of butter is making its way around the shelter, la casa. So sorry.
It's beautiful so far. Keep going.
Technology will get me every single goddamn time when I'm caught up in my own emotion. But fuck the roaches, the computer, the military too. It's all again. Baby girl walks in to check on her progress. She is waiting impatiently for popcorn, and the smell of butter is making its way around the shelter, la casa. This house is built on a solid foundation of Goodyear tires and unpacked, repacked suitcases. Unpacked, repacked plans. Today, there is popcorn. All that matters is today. For my sake, not Zulema's. The flower beds and the upside down Christmas trees drying out in the sun in Tijuana. They look beautiful. I will remember them when I am warmed by a campfire, watching my children for signs of a chill. I will remember them, determined, everything so uneven, these steps protruding out of a hillside, going wherever they need to go, wherever they need to go. There's no going back. No one can go back. There's only forward. Zulema and I know this. It is a fucking beautiful truth. And it stomps all hesitation into the ground. We dance on it, Zulema and I. Yeah. And I'm going to read one more. Thank you very much, and thank you for my patience with that little glitch. This poem is called Chadwick Garden. I will keep the poem of the garden all to myself, just as the gates try to keep the deer out of the garden. And I think how you brought me through the gate, led me up and down the rows of growing things, your ghost laughing at me on the roads there, passing me by in some old messed up truck, must have been a Chevy. Stopped to examine each citrus tree, and the conch texture of the calla lily made me love you out loud for a moment. Made me love that messed up truck even more, just a little bit, at each flower, like a rosary, a prayer station, because that's basically all of the love I've ever needed. The length and amount, the depth required to plant an eggplant or a yellow pepper. How about the surprise of poppies in winter? Would you think about that, Vato? How could it be that there could be poppies in winter? Or roses the size of your fist? I remember your fist. And let the vines lay hands on you now. I didn't find sunflowers. Not even the miracle of this garden would have them in December. But you were in the flames of the pines at sunset, burning, guardian of all of my wanderlust. And you kept me from stumbling into a gopher hole, fumbling around for mushrooms in the darkness. I tried to leave the garden before the sun fully set. And the sun is always with me, even beneath the canopy of orange trees. Now that was true darkness. And I wanted everything and anything that wasn't ripe or ready to go. Pinches naranjas. And there was a damn sign that said, don't pick the oranges, they're green. Like I ever listened. I took a bite of the orange with the peel and all, because that's all I've ever wanted out of Chadwick Garden was a pinche naranja. Thank you.
I'm so glad you read. Fan-fucking-tastic. Wonderful. You got a lot of love in the chat, so make sure you check through it. Also, I want to be your headdress when I grow up, just saying. All right, we just got one more reader for tonight. It is our very own Alexandra Kostoulas, without which not, sine qua non, without which none of us would be here. She started the Institute and has held the space for all of us. And I'm so grateful to have been working with her for as long as I have and getting to work with all of you as a part of that. So Alexandra, read us some poems, say some words, love us out the door.
Okay, that's a tall order, but I'll do my best. I'm just gonna put some stuff that I want to promote in the chat and quickly talk about it. December the 15th, we're having an in-person reading at Counterpulse, 80 Turk Street. It's middle of the day. January 10th through 14th, I'm teaching a workshop called Finding Your Creative Spark Boot Camp. And then I'm also doing an email course for free. So if you're interested in any of those, just send me an email or DM me. And you can also dispatches from quarantine. Our pandemic blog is back. We had some problems with it, but we got back on track. So we're back accepting submissions. We have a backlog of submissions that we want to publish that are wonderful things. So they're coming soon. So I bought this journal like a long time ago, and it says "It is written in the stars," and I kept thinking that I wanted to write in here, and I never let myself. I was like, I have to write in there when I'm really ready to write something good. And then it just became my pandemic journal because the pandemic happened. So I'm just gonna read you guys some really, really raw stuff that I haven't even typed up yet, just so that you feel better. And also so I feel good I read it once, so maybe it will get me to type it up. Here's a short poem. This is because Marilyn read short poems. So much depends on a global pandemic next to a cataclysmic shift and the poetic justice of roosting chickens. I wrote that in October 2020. Also October 2020. In the middle of the night, hope and fear ring at the same decibel. A guy was sleeping in his car below my window. The cops came and scared him shitless. I was up with the pandemic restlessness I always get. I opened up the window and saw him, our eyes locked. The same terrified expression on so many faces, and then the hope, the realization that he's not alone. Funny because I was rocking the baby by that window at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I felt an intense feeling, a pressure to move away from the window, a premonition of gunshots. I don't know why, chalk it up to craziness, but I left the window, I got my phone, I turned on the hallway light, and I decided to film the man and the police, just in case. Cop watch, midnight mom style. Deep breath in and out. Did I just save a man's life? Am I being grandiose? The cops saw me. He saw me. They saw me filming from my window, baby in one hand, half peeking out from the curtain, angling to get a good shot, and then they left. And he drove away. Okay, this one is a poem, but it came out of a journal entry. So sometimes when I work, I write journal entries and then the poems sort of blend. This was October 2021. I'm feeling what I'm about to become. It is standing on the precipice. I am looking over the edge. I am standing over the chasm at Delphi, defying the oracle, letting the noxious gases waft up and tousle my hair. I descend. I move down, right into the gut. I want to get to the heart of what's been ailing me. Why haven't I produced more? Well, why haven't I? I've been healing. I heal myself. I heal myself as an artist. I heal myself as a writer, a daughter, a girl, a woman. Too much blood and guts in my life up until now. I've cried too many tears over all the bodies and the loss and my lack of favor for so many years and lack of money and lack of hope. And I didn't see over that wall. I didn't peer over the next bend to see where it would be beautiful, to see where I would have enough, where my children would be born, where love would prevail. I'm still afraid someone will take it from me. Like Gollum in Lord of the Rings, I hold on to my precious. All the shit of who I was eclipsing the story of who I am and who I will become. I feel like the magic is back in my fingertips, but I fear something will happen. What, I don't know. Where, I won't create. I have to walk through the line. I have to walk the line anyway. Step barefoot onto the smoldering coals. I have to. Okay. Thank you. And I'm gonna, this one I just wrote this morning, and it's not done, it's rough. So thank you for listening. It needs more lyricism, I think. New shit. Things I lost in the pandemic. I don't want to talk about that yet. I still need a cup of coffee. Things I lost in the pandemic. People, almost my mom, my shoes, socks, a lot of socks. My self-respect at times. Sleep, lots and lots of sleep. Childcare, dreams, joy for a little while. Self-confidence. The Cliff House, Louis' Restaurant, greasy spoon breakfasts at the Seal Rock Inn, all the end of the era places of San Francisco, restaurants that couldn't make it. I lost my taste for takeout. Did I mention I lost my childcare? Almost lost Creative Writing Institute, lost my inspiration for a little while, lost my ability to fall asleep and gained it again, lost my neighbors, some distant cousins and some relatives, a few friends, and probably more. Things I gained in the pandemic. 2 full-sized adult bikes, a child's bike, a 50-inch TV that someone was throwing away, but it had a line on it, support for Creative Writing Institute, a bunch of things people were throwing away in the street, free meals, free food, childcare, a coveted spot in a preschool. I learned how a colostomy bag works. I learned how to put together a recording studio in my basement. I learned how to teach lyric poetry. I learned how to run an online school. So many things that people were throwing away I found in the street. A children's push toy, a little table that lights up, a cubic bookcase, a new way to find joy. And here I am, 2 years older, wiser, 2 kids later, world weary, world without end. How to work a video camera, how to have coffee on Zoom, how to be a person again, how to be in person again, and how not to let my mask fog up my glasses. The end. So thank you, everyone. It's been a rough year, but we're back, and Creative Writing Institute is back, and it's a pleasure to work with you all. You're all amazing writers. Keep going. We've had some really good news that, a lot of people published their books, published poetry for the first time. One of our students, Tracy Leanne, just got a 2-book deal with HarperCollins for a mystery, and then another book yet to be written. And she took the advanced prose workshop, and she's read with us at Beast Crawl too, and at other, I think at Litquake. And yeah, and right from the gut, actually, I got a notification 5 years ago. She read with us in person at that, what was that, the name of that bar that's in the Tenderloin that was across from WeWork? Piano Fight. she read at Piano Fight, and I got a note. She took photos of all of us, and it reminded me 5 years ago on this day you had a reading right from the gut. So, and that's the person who just published her book. We had a lot of people publishing books, and please send us, like as Hollie's mentioning in the chat, send us your publications and awards so we can shout you out in our end of year newsletter. You're all amazing people. You're all amazing writers. Never give up, and keep going. And if anyone else wants to read, speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, we'll end. Okay.
Thank you guys for coming tonight. It was so good to hear you. I love it when students read together and get to like hear what each other are doing and meet other teachers. And I love it that you guys keep coming back, even if you don't take the next class, come back to the next reading and show us what you're doing. And when you get published and when you have awards and when you win shit, because you will, because we believe in you and you are going to do that work, let us know. We have a newsletter coming up. Alexandra and I are collecting all of the awards and accolades that you've won in the last year, things you've published. Send them to us so that we can shout you out and link to your books so people will buy them. I mean, they're going to buy them anyways, but we want to give you that extra push. So reach out, take my class, take Alexandra's class, take Paul's class, take Cassandra's classes. Keep coming back. We love you guys so much. Good night.